Horror Cast.
Is every person here a mental case?
Hey, this is Dina,
This is Tony.
and welcome to this episode of the Horror Cast for November 2012, your podcast for all things horror related. We're doing things a little differently today. First of all, we've got a guest. Please introduce yourself.
What, me? Oh, well, this is so sudden. Greetings, everyone. I am Lotus Prince. I recently joined Blistered Thumbs on July 13th, 2012, and I mainly do Let's Plays. Mainly of games almost exclusively of games I like, although I have a penchant for survival horror. I enjoy what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we're here to discuss Silent Hill Revelations 3D.
3D right there in the title, man.
Before we begin, I do want to clarify something. In our previous podcast, I made a comment about remakes and Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah.
I said that if there was a remake of Nosferatu, which is my favorite vampire movie, like that, I would go on a killing spree rampage in Hollywood. It has come to my attention that it was in fact remade in the 70s. So, yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to go on my killing spree after all now. So, thank you everybody for bringing that to my attention. I feel like an idiot. Thank you.
Awkward. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. So, yeah, I feel stupid.
Also, Nosferatu's your favorite? You don't like Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman?
You shut your... You hush, sir.
Oh, excellent troll.
Oh.
He's already causing trouble.
Yeah, right. There were 2D showings, but they showed like once during the day or maybe twice. There was no way I could catch them, so I had to suck it up and pay like $14.
Yeah, I actually got my 3D viewing for free which could either be good or bad, because I purchased my tickets ahead of time for the 2D version, and then when me and my friend got to the theater, we see this. You may now put on your 3D glasses. I'm like, the fuck? So it's like, so I go to the manager. And I was like, "Excuse me, is this movie in 3D?" It's like, yes. It's like, well, I bought these last week. Like, oh, okay. Well, here you go. Here's your glasses, no charge. Like,
Oh, that's awesome. So you saved like what, $3 or $4?
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. It's like, this is like what I saved in money, I gained in eye strain.
Yeah, no kidding.
One of the perks of the job I work for is that for your birthday every year, they give you 2 free movie passes.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so I got to see the movie for free. But yeah, I think it's funny that we all wanted to see it in 2D and neither of us could.
Well, honestly, it wasn't because like it's just like, does it really need to be in 3D? I would like to save a few dollars and not deal with a gimmick. Although I will admit, though, once again, the 3D was actually quite well implemented.
I'm inclined to agree. This is one of the few movies where 3D was done fairly well.
Yeah, like clearly this was not upped to 3D. It was filmed for the purpose of 3D. So, and like you can tell.
Yeah. Okay, so before we begin, a couple of things we want to bring to everybody's attention. First and foremost, my lovely co-host Dina has put up a kick-ass, wonderful video about the first Silent Hill movie and why it blows donkey balls. So,
Maybe I should have titled it that.
What?
the first.
Silent Hill movie blows donkey balls.
But no, don't stay on the fence. Tell us what you really think.
Yeah. Yes, it is an awesome video, and she actually has legit reasons why it sucks, and she has legit reasons why it doesn't suck so much. So it's not blind hatred; it's just, fangirl rage. So, so yes, please go see that on Blip. Give her that Blip revenue. So yes, and also, for those that are unaware, 2 years ago, at MagFest 9, me and Dina did a crossover, the first and only one as of yet, where we did a review of Queen of the Damned. Bear in mind, I am not a reviewer. I am an interviewer, I am a podcaster, and the occasional exotic dancer, but I am not a reviewer. So
Hot.
hot, yeah.
And I am not an actor.
But it was a lot of fun, and the blooper at the end, I love, because obviously I loved it. That's why I kept it in. So
Yeah, but I just have to say, zombies corpse less than I do.
Oh,
It was really embarrassing watching that because, oh my god, I could not keep a straight face through anything.
But hey, this was the first instance where Dina had the Silent Hill theme as her ringtone. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah,
what, the first game's theme?
yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, so guys, please go check that out. Love to hear your comments on it. Comments, gripes, bitches, complaints, whatever.
If
And-
nothing else, it's kind of got a so bad it's awesome thing going on.
It is the room of video reviews.
I was just about to say it's the Troll 2 of our time.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So, as I said, we're here to discuss Silent Hill Revelations 3D. God help us.
I'm still doing that.
Right. Here's basically what it's about in case anyone listening doesn't know. It's a combination of a movie adaptation of Silent Hill 3 and a sequel to the first movie. Basically, you have Heather, who is a teenage Sharon from the first movie, and her dad, Harry Mason, who is Chris De Silva from the first movie. They've changed their identities because they're in hiding from the cult, which is kind of a nonsensical hybrid of the cult from the first movie and the cult from Silent Hill 3. And Harry is captured by the cult, and Heather has to go save him, and wacky hijinks ensue. We're going to take turns saying what we thought about it, and I'm going to let our guest go first.
All right, thank you. Well, first of all, you want to hear something hilarious?
Always.
Movie's not as bad as I thought it would be. Not even kidding.
Huh.
Like, both of the movies, they did not do justice to their source material, but they felt like Silent Hill something or other. Like, the atmosphere was there. It was just the details that were a catastrophe. Take, for example, the movie's opening. It opens, by the way, fair warning, this is going to be spoiler heavy for the movie and probably for Silent Hill 3 as well, because that's the game the movie's based on, so
Yeah.
fair warning. So the movie opens the way the game opens. You have no context, you just see Heather walking around in the amusement park. And oh boy, like, you see her walking around the amusement park, it looks amazing. And I got elated. I'm like, okay, you know, I saw Pyramid Head on the damn movie poster, I saw him all over the trailers, I'm getting pissed. No, we're doing it right. But then you see, like, the cult members looking for her, I'm like, ah. So, cult members aside, though, it looks pretty decent, and she met Dark Alessa, which you're really supposed to meet, like, in the third quarter of the game. Like, you're not supposed to know about Dark Alessa yet, although at least she was on the merry-go-round. I give her bonus points for that. Also, one thing I should point out is that you see Pyramid Head kind of in a background role, like, he's the one powering the merry-go-round. Like, I don't know if the power is not working or what, but he's kind of, like, cranking the thing and making it run. Now, being that I knew Pyramid Head was going to be in the movie anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. He's got, like, a background role. It's like, oh, there's Pyramid Head. He waves at the camera, and we move on with our lives. Little did I realize he had a much bigger role later, which kind of irritated me. But I thought that the background role in the merry-go-round was pretty cool, although it should have been Valtiel, if anything, especially because they keep pushing the whole cult of Valtiel. Because throughout the Silent Hill 3 game, you see Valtiel just kind of doing things as you advance the game, turning valves, shuffling back and forth through a hallway, dunking a nurse in fire, just ugh. Possibly raping that one nurse in that smoked room. Like, Valtiel's doing all sorts of creepy things, and, like, he's not in the game unless you count the throne that the cult leader sits on, which is nice nod to the audience, I guess, but Pyramid Head was doing what Valtiel should have been doing, is all I'm saying. Also, I would have liked it if they played You're Not Here in the beginning of the movie, like when Heather wakes up, because that's the opening theme of Silent Hill 3, and it worked really well. Speaking of which, she wakes up in her home in bed and not in the mall. In the game, she was already out doing whatever. In the movie, she's in the home, she wakes up, okay, thank God, that was looking really scary for a moment there, but it was all a dream. Then you see your father, oh no, you were having a nightmare, etc., etc. But then he gets stabbed. No, not dream within a dream. You got me, movie. You got me. And honestly, I thought that honestly did get me because, again, I'm warning you in advance. Spoilers for Silent Hill 3. The whole plot of Silent Hill 3 is that Heather is avenging her father's death. So I'm like, damn, like I knew Sean Bean would die, but not within the first minute of the movie. But no, dream within a dream again. You got me. And then a Pop-Tart jump scare because I don't know. Bonus points for the Pop-Tart jump scare. They didn't put an orchestral sting behind it because really. So we get to Heather and then they explain the whole name change thing. To be fair, in the game, Cheryl did have her identity changed to Heather. I don't think she even knew she was Cheryl. In the movie, she did. She's like, oh, we've had to change our names, as you said, to get away from the cult. And I was wondering, like, the plot of the game is that Harry dies, but you got Christopher as the father. Oh, he changed his name to Harry. He just is Harry now. Why wasn't he Harry in the first freaking movie? I don't know, but it's okay. He's Harry now. So, I was a little bothered, though, by the fact that Heather is aware that she was Cheryl, because that was something of a reveal in the game. The players might know, but she didn't. Same goes with her hair dye. It's revealed at the very end of the game. Like, you're gonna keep dyeing your hair. Like, the player might not have known that at the beginning. So she goes to school. She meets one of the most irritating characters in the movie. His character is fine, but the fact that Vincent is Heather's age really pisses me off because it didn't need to happen at all. Because Vincent was that creepy middle-aged priest that you meet periodically throughout Silent Hill 3 who just kind of gives you vague advice but just weirds you out. But no, he's a student. All right. I mean, yes, he does know more than he lets on, as we'll realize later, but for the love of God. Also, he's Claudia's son. That blew my goddamn mind. It blew my goddamn mind. Also, you meet Claudia in the game, in the mall, like the first area of the game, before the other worlds. You meet Claudia probably within 10 minutes of gameplay. You don't even see her until the second half of the movie. Heather never sees her until the ending climax, like the last 10 minutes of the movie. Blew my mind times 2. Also, he's Leonard's grandson. That is to say, Vincent is Leonard's grandson. Who's Leonard? More on that later, but again, what? So they give away that Heather was Cheryl, or Sharon, I should say, in the movie. Now this, I don't know if this was a wink at Silent Hill 2 or not, or maybe I'm thinking too deeply into things, but Heather said, oh, I've gone by a few names now. Sharon, name number 2, which I forgot, because she went by kind of quickly, Mary, and now Heather. I was wondering if Mary was a Silent Hill 2 nod, or if that's just a name. I don't know.
I'm sure that was a nod.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know for a fact they nodded at least 2 other Silent Hill games. Speaking of which, we have Sean Bean. He's Harry, but I'm honestly probably just going to keep calling him Sean Bean. I'm honestly, not even on purpose, I'm just going to do that. You see him, like, you know how Rose was left in sort of Silent Hill limbo, like Fogland at the end of the first movie? Well, she's not dead. She's just kind of there. So Sean Bean can communicate with her through the mirror. And I know it's not the dark otherworld of Silent Hill, but that made me think of Origins, where he can see into the fog Silent Hill as compared to the real world.
Oh, yeah.
Except that he could directly communicate with Rose at that point. And in Origins, you could not. You could just transfer to the otherworld and back at will from a mirror. He could see into it. So I'm honestly not sure if that was supposed to be an Origins reference or not. If not, don't worry. There's another one that's far more obvious. When Heather went to the mall, chose to go to Happy Burger. Nice touch. I like that. That was a place in the game. You didn't actually have to go in there. I think there was a side door that had some health items or something, but, it's a nod. That's cool. Now, what kind of bothered me about the mall is that what makes Silent Hill scary, or at least there's a bunch of things. What's one of the things that makes Silent Hill scary? You're alone in a place you don't recognize. Mm-hmm. Now, even if Heather would have recognized the mall, the player didn't. Here, you see a bunch of people in the mall, and, okay, I get it. The mall has people in it. That's a thing that happens. But it kind of kept flashing to creepy versions of people, like the kids were eating the meat of some body instead of birthday cake. The clown had a creepy face. And I'm like, I see what you're doing, but that's generic horror movie scare and not Silent Hill scare. Mm-hmm. Like, Heather's supposed to be alone and discover Claudia a little later. That did not happen. She did, however, have a creepy flash where she saw a lying body from, and I don't mean a body lying on the ground, I mean the enemy lying body. You know that straitjacket looking enemy that spits acid that was in the first game? That was in the first movie from Silent Hill 2. Well, here it is again, still from Silent Hill 2. That's one thing that bothered me, actually, was, except for Leonard, I don't believe there were any Silent Hill 3 enemies in the Silent Hill 3 movie. Once again, Silent Hill 2 enemies or original creations. But she sees a lying body, flashes out. Now, what they do right is that Douglas, the private investigator, meets her and is like, hey, I know who you are. There's something you need to know. And Heather's like, oh god, no, get away from me. You're some creepy guy in a trench coat. So they play that part right. He finally catches up to her in a room, and Heather brandishes a lead pipe at him, which was pretty cool. You get or maybe it was a steel pipe. You get a steel pipe in the game anyway, so that was pretty cool. You never see it again. That kind of bothered me. Also, Heather's packing heat from home. In the game, she starts with like a little pocket knife, like Dad told me I should have this just in case, and she finds a gun in the room where she meets the first enemy in the game, which was goddamn scary, by the way. It's one of those giant closer enemies. Not this time. She just comes with a gun. Now, Douglas keeps following her, and eventually, you know, okay, I finally caught you. Here's the thing you need to know. The people I'm working for, they're not who I thought they were. They're after you. You better watch out. Douglas gets killed, like, immediately. Like, he was in the movie for, like, 7 minutes. Like, really? Like, he was the person who's supposed to drive Heather to Silent Hill. He's supposed to redeem himself by, like, his son died or whatever. He felt guilty about it. Now's my chance to make things right. I'm gonna fight these guys. If I get killed, then so be it. No, he's killed instantly. Not to mention, he's killed by an original monster. It looks like, Dina, you described it actually on Facebook before the movie came out, based on the trailer. It looks like a Cenobite, and it really does. Like a Cenobite from the Hellraiser movies. And it had these blades coming out of him. Spoiler alert, that was Claudia, apparently. Claudia kills him really early in the movie. What, and again, you don't know this at the time, but what the hell? Not to mention, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but the plot point of the movie is that they need to get Heather to come to Silent Hill of her own will so they can kill her because she's the vulnerable part of Alessa. And she is one side of Alessa, that is true, but, like, clearly Claudia could have killed her right there. Right? Blades kill people, am I wrong? Like, so I don't know, that just... Claudia can leave Silent Hill, come to her, threaten her, I guess. I don't know what that was all about. But anyway, she finally, you know, goes back home, Vincent walks her home, and Sean Bean is dead. Oh, no, actually, he's captured, and there's blood on the wall, which may or may not be his, that says, come to Silent Hill. Why didn't they kill him? Harry dies in the game, and now it's a rescue mission instead of a revenge mission. Now, to be fair, that does get Heather to go to Silent Hill of her own will, but come on, I think you killed my father's revenge enough. Not to mention, the game, they really lay it on thick, because Claudia's standing right there when Harry's dead, and, like, just upstairs. You're like, who did this? Whoever it was couldn't be far. Walk upstairs, like, one flight of stairs. Claudia's standing right there. And she was pissing you off already, and you're like, did you kill my father? No, this guy did. And you're like, oh, so you kill that guy, but you need to hunt down Claudia after that. No, in this, they just capture him. We're in Silent Hill. Find your own way there, I guess. They couldn't give her a taxi or anything, so she's got to do that. Vincent drives her part of the way, but he keeps saying, no, you shouldn't go to Silent Hill, which cracked me up, by the way. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm bouncing around. I'm sorry. But again, Claudia's his mother. He's Claudia's son. And she's saying, you know, Vincent, what are you doing? You're trying not to get her to come here? Like, what's wrong with you? I mean, I will admit, despite your madness, you did bring her here. I'm like, he did his damnedest not to bring her here. Like, Vincent, if anything, was a hindrance. Like, I know Claudia couldn't have known that, but it's like, you shouldn't be crediting Vincent at all. He did his damnedest to screw you over. Speaking of which, Vincent drove her to Jack's Motel, room 106. Nice touch, straight from the game. Another touch from the game I really thought was kind of cool. It didn't serve a purpose in the movie, but do you remember in the game when you're in the amusement park, and there's that one puzzle, you need to give the apple to the Snow White statue and the red shoe to the Cinderella statue? You see the red shoe in the hotel room, or the motel room, like on a shelf. Again, it didn't serve a purpose, but it was kind of cool. I got a kick out of that.
I thought that was kind of dumb because it had like no
I
place
was like, it's a
there.
refresh game. I'll take it.
Oh, wow.
I don't. It's all good. So she goes to the regular town. But one thing I noticed is when Heather got out of the car, and it does the Silent Hill first movie thing where just everything's foggy and you're looking at it like, whoa, what's going on? You kind of hear this in the background. It's the first couple seconds of the Silent Hill track Innocent Moon. You kind of hear that weird humming, throbbing sound. It's like this pulsing sound that causes like Heather to have a headache in the game. You kind of hear that a little bit when she gets out of the car in the movie. I thought that was kind of cool. She goes walking around. There's no one in the town except, well, there were people looking at her in buildings, which instantly made me think like, now she's not alone in the town. Kind of kills a bit of the mood. She runs into Dahlia, who again is a sympathetic character, whereas in the first game she was like the worst person ever, but she's like the villain. But here she's a sympathetic character just before, like, oh, you shouldn't have come here, etc., etc. The darkness is coming, get out. So the darkness comes, alright, fine. Oh, one thing I forgot, by the way. On the trip to the Silent Hill, in the car, you hear the song Promise, the reprise. You heard it in the trailer, too. Again, that's the song that plays in the apartment with Angela in Silent Hill 2. Wrong freaking game. Driving me crazy.
They really love that song. They played that like a couple times during the first movie, and
yeah, it's a brilliant song, but like, what are you doing? You like, you have Akira Yamaoka's permission. Like, you got he's in the credits for this movie. Like, use the damn Silent Hill 3 songs. They use one later. I'll get to that. Unless you count that Innocent Moon thing as counting as a soundtrack. I guess it does count. So she gets to this one building where there's a whole bunch of mannequins, and I don't mean the mannequin enemies of Silent Hill 2. I mean like proper busts and mannequins. I'm like, okay, this is looking good. There's a room just like this in the game. All right, fine. But there's this weird monster that like turns people into mannequins, which is creepy, but it's not Silent Hill. Not to mention, Heather runs into this one girl, this other person who was there, and it's like she's clearly a victim. It's like, my God, what happened to you? Like, how'd you get here? It's like, oh, I took a wrong turn somewhere, and now I'm trapped in here. I'm like, that's not how Silent Hill works. Like the town, I mean, like it attracts people to it that belong there, if that makes sense. If you play the games, you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And it's just like, oh, I took a wrong turn, and now I'm screwed. I'm like, it doesn't pick indiscriminately. Like, it went after Harry. It didn't choose him, but he went in there because of it affecting his daughter. Heather chose to go in there because it was directly relevant to her plot. Also, Heather's kind of Alessa. James was chosen to be in the town. Speaking of Heather being Alessa, gave that away real damn quick, didn't they? Like, like, you're not supposed to realize that until way the hell later. Not to mention the whole happy birthday thing. I forgot. Happy birthday was like, not a motif, but it's like a recurring theme in the game. And in the movie, it's Heather's birthday. But also Alessa's birthday. You didn't know. You were Alessa. But in the game, it's Alessa's birthday, but remember, Cheryl was adopted, and like Heather, like that's not you don't know what her real birthday is. So you hear happy birthday like 2 or 3 times in the game, and Heather's like, okay, thanks, it's not my birthday, you're weirding me out. But here, it made more sense, and it kind of bothered me. I don't know. So anyway, the mannequin monster, I thought the mannequin monster itself was kind of cool. It was very creative.
Mhm.
Again, mannequins are not relevant to Heather, they're relevant to James, especially their top and bottom being legs. And here, it's just mannequins are creepy, because in real life, mannequins kind of are creepy. But you have this giant spider mannequin. I can accept that. I can even accept that taking a head from a person and adding it to its head so they can see different directions. That was kind of cool. But then it kind of ruined it. It went one step too far. It opened up its mannequin like porcelain face or ceramic face, whatever it's made of, and you see this weird like fleshy like this monster underneath it, which this is going to sound kind of confusing. It had like 2 sets of mouths. One of them was like a lamprey's mouth, like totally circular, full of teeth, and the other was kind of like, you know, the Predator, how it's got those 4 fang-looking things on the diagonal parts of its mouth. It had that, but they were on the inside, so its mouth functioned like an alien. Like the lamprey circular mouth opened, and the Predator mouth kind of shot out of that. So it was like a combination of the alien function of the mouth and the predator look of the mouth. It was kind of weird. And by the way, that wasn't resolved. Heather runs away from it, and it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just still hanging around somewhere. Like, they just never took care of that thing. So, so Heather eventually learns that, I believe Vincent was captured. I think that's how it goes. Maybe I'm getting out of order here, but Heather, works her way over to the amusement park after that, and then Vincent gets captured and sent to the asylum, Brookhaven, which was Brookhaven 2 or 3? I'm forgetting in this one. But anyway, the point is she goes into Brookhaven. I'm forgetting which game that's from, and that's where Leonard is, which is accurate, although you see him in human form in the movie, unlike the game. But before we even get to Leonard, a crazy patient attacks Heather, but it's in monster form, so it's like, oh god. Now this was a subtle nod, I think. It's hideous looking, it's wearing pants, it's bare chested, and it's all regular fleshy colored, it's kind of ugly. Now, its mouth, well, it is really all it's got. Like, its head has no eyes, no nose. It's just like a vertical mouth. Like, the mouth opens vertically, not horizontally like a regular human's mouth, and it's full of sharp, pointy teeth. It took me a second, because I'm like, that's not a Silent Hill enemy. But you know what? It kind of is. It looks like a lurker from Silent Hill Homecoming.
As soon as you described it, I'm like, wait a minute, that's from Homecoming.
Yeah, like, not the whole monster, just the face, because the lurkers always crawled and they had long claws. This guy was basically a human with a lurker's face, but that's totally a lurker. Heather blows his brains out, moves on, and then she gets to kind of an interesting area where there's a long hallway of doors keeping patients in, and all the patients do that thing they do in every movie with a jail, where they reach through the bars and try to grab you, and Heather's like, oh god, what's gonna happen? Then Cameo happens. Pyramid Head walks in, and you're like, oh Jesus, Pyramid Head, how's Heather gonna get out of this one? But he, saves her directly. Now, here's the part that I found stupid. I was even kind of okay with that, but here's the part that I thought was really stupid. The guys are reaching their arms out, so he's like, alright. So he swings his giant freaking great knife, cuts off the arms of, the nearest guy. I'm like, oh, damn! So what do the rest of the patients do? Well, duh, they move their arms back into their cells and Heather moves on. Or they keep their damn arms out and let all of them just get sliced off because they're freaking idiots. That just really irritated me. I'm like, guy.
Hilarious.
I was like, I don't know what it's like in Silent Hill, but I enjoy having both arms, and if I know that they're gonna get cut off if I keep them out, I'll pull them back in, for God's so Heather gets out of that. She sees Leonard. Now, Leonard has this one icon, what is it, the Seal of Metatron, that, Heather has a half of it given to her by Sean Bean, and she gets the other part from Leonard in the game, and she does, in fact, get the other part from Leonard in the movie, but when he takes the Metatron seal in himself, he sees his true nature, which is this giant monster. The monster looked pretty decent, but taking the medallion out of him killed him, instead of hitting him until he falls down, I guess. So they get rid of Leonard, and then they have the, here's one thing that just killed me. Yeah, I should mention, they have Robbie the Rabbit in there, the mascot. Thank God he didn't get up and do anything. He was just kind of flying around, like in the game. I was like, don't push your luck. So he didn't do anything there. Oh god, do I wish they did the haunted house thing, though. That'd be so freaking cool.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Vorley Haunted Mansion. Just fake ceiling. Like, we're sorry, that was supposed to be the exit. But, as much as I like that, they didn't have it. But they go to the amusement park. Here's the part that just slayed me. You see Heather and Vincent sneaking through the amusement park. Okay, fine. You see cultists looking out for them. Again, that would piss me off, but they've already established that was happening, so I'm, grumbling and accepting it. So, we're dealing with that. But Vincent is apparently a member of the cult, which is kind of like in the game, and he mentions, oh, these cult members, the ones looking for you now, these are the crazy ones, even among the cults. They're the most zealous, they're the ones who do the things no one else will. Like, why are they wearing those masks then? Oh, they're wearing masks because the darkness of the other world, they think it'll corrupt them. And, clearly it won't, because Vincent's not being corrupted. The moment Heather takes off one of their masks, they just bubble over with black goop. I'm like, dude, I could even accept Heather not being affected by it because she kind of is Alessa, who's the cause of all this. Vincent wasn't harmed. How come these guys are harmed? The more zealous you get, the more vulnerable you get. Not to mention, no one was getting hurt by this in the first movie. No one. Not Rose, no one. So that was just stupid. Also, again, black liquid. You didn't have that in you at first. Shouldn't it be like saliva or foam or something? Like, she gives her whole villain speech. Oh, this is why I captured your father. Who, by the way, is still alive. This is why I captured your father, and we need you to birth a new god, and etc., which is accurate, finally. Although Vincent made it sound like they wanted to kill Alessa, and Claudia's saying we need your body to birth a new god. It's like, but, okay. So they go through the whole speech, and then, oh, one thing I should mention before getting to that point. I forgot about this. I'm sorry. The Silent Hill 2 nurses are back, and they do that red light, green light thing they did in the first movie. I get what they were doing in the first movie. Like, monsters do react to your flashlight in the game. If you turn off your flashlight, it's scarier, but you're less likely to be noticed. Mm-hmm. But don't turn on and turn off based on your flashlight. If they did, then you just wouldn't fight anything in the entire game. You just go buy them. Meanwhile, in this movie, they react apparently also to sound. So, speaking of which, the cult members bring Vincent in on the gurney into the nurse room. They're like, okay, this is where you're going. And the nurses start coming at them because they hear them coming in. They're like, no, back away, you fiends. And they have little tasers or whatever. Just, like, kill a couple of them. I'm like, dude, you could have taken him to a room without the nurses. You could have. You could have taken him anywhere, the hallway. Like, you take them into the room where there's a chance of all of you dying. That is, like, pants on head stupid. Also, the nurses had these overly, like, feminine, like, sighs of sexual pleasure and things like that when they were attacking, which actually was kind of cool. But even in the Silent Hill 2 game, they were shrill and terrifying. So I don't know what they were really going for. And again, they have less than no reference to Heather, or relevance to Heather. Again, Silent Hill 3 had its set of nurses. Use those. You could have done that. Also, no wheelchair motif at all, where that was a big deal in the first and third games. Again, specifically because of Alessa. And again, Dark Alessa on the train, they combined. Like, Heather and Dark Alessa combined into the one full Alessa, I guess, whereas you're supposed to kill your dark half in Silent Hill 3. Also, they could have used the merry-go-round theme from the game. They just didn't have it. That kind of bothered me. But anyway, I'm finally caught up to myself. Claudia gives her whole, villain monologue, whatever. The single stupidest part of the entire movie happens, where it just turns into a CG fight, where it turns into her Cenobite form, and Pyramid Head shows up. Like, there were a couple stupid things about this. By the way, when Claudia turns into her Cenobite form, like, this is your true form, one thing killed me. You know how everyone has or how the monsters are like corrupted versions of, other things, or like Leonard turned into a monster, that's his corrupted form. With Claudia, I'm sure it was just supposed to be a special effect and nothing more, but I like reading too much into things. Remember how she transformed those blades that were sticking out of the top and sides of her head kind of came in from the outside, and they kind of like did this transformation thing where it's like the Power Rangers, where like the Zord's standing there, one of the arms from the outside like attaches, you kind of like that. Like, the blades came from outside and went into her head. I'm like, now was that a transformation, or like were there just blades like somewhere?
Is that the Claudia Megazord, or?
Why didn't that kill her?
There are blades from like the ceiling that just went into your head, and you're okay with that? Like, it was just weirded me out. And Pyramid Head shows up and saves her, and they established that Pyramid Head will be, what was it? Alessa's guardian. ... And executioner, or just guardian, because he freaking saves her ass and leaves.
Yeah.
Like, he just fights the Claudia monster in this overblown, stupid, maybe CG fest. For Claudia, it had to be. For Pyramid Head, I'm not so sure. By the way, one of the things about Pyramid Head, and again, this is one of those deeper level things from the game that I'm probably much into, but you know how he really, really drags that knife behind him? Like, It's a burden. Like, even in the hallway when he's cutting off the prisoner's arms, he's like taking all the time in the world to lift that knife because it's goddamn heavy. And I don't know if you remember, this is one of my favorite parts about Pyramid Head in the first movie. Remember when he swings his knife sideways into the wall and like he pulls it back out? When he pulls it back out, he like freaking drops that thing from the weight and just crashes against the ground. It's a goddamn heavy knife. Here, he's like whipping it around like it's just a sword fight. He's just whipping it around, all these reflexes and everything, and I'm like, did you work out between movies or something? Because you should not be just like spinning that thing around like it's nothing. Because that's just unreasonable. Also, again, unnecessarily amounts of nerd looking into things. But he cuts off his head, and it does one of those things where the head flies at the camera, like ooh. But like the head screams as it's coming toward the camera. Buddy, you have vocal cords. You can't make no.
I didn't even catch that.
I was just like, this isn't like a Suda 51 game where that's hilarious. It's like you can't speak. Like air is no longer going through your throat at your command. Sorry. By the way, speaking of things flying into the camera, like I said, I do have to say the 3D was particularly impressive in this movie. Like when it panned and showed the road going into the backgrounds, but also into the foreground. Well done. And actually, when the movie was just starting, when it had all those ash flakes floating around, that was amazing. Like that was the best part of the 3D and
That was kind of neat.
movie. Like that was gorgeous. But I guess I'll finally wrap it up. That's one problem that I have is that I ramble a freaking lot. I do apologize for that, but I'm finally gonna shut the hell up with the last couple of things. Heather, Vincent, and Sean Bean get out. Sean Bean's like, no, I'm going to stay behind, look for Rose. I'm going to leave you without parents. Vincent, I hope to God you're a good boyfriend because you've known Heather for like 25 hours. Yeah, because like Vincent and Heather have literally met for, before they drive to Silent Hill, it's actually been less than 24 hours. Because it's first day, it goes from first day of school to middle of the night. Like, it's been like 12 hours. And they're an item now. Like... That's like Disney levels of romance right there. Like, that's freaking crazy. So Sean Bean's like, dude, I don't know you. And we clearly never met you because we moved in, like, now. I hope to God you're the best boyfriend ever because if you're not, then Heather's just by herself. See ya. I'm like, Sean Bean, goddamn. Speaking of which, to another thing. You know how Sean Bean dies in every role he's in? And you know how he's Harry Mason? So we knew 10 years ago that he was going to die in this movie? Nope. Sean Bean freaking lives at the end of a movie where his character's death was telegraphed in the 90s. Maybe early 2000s. I'm thinking early 2000s. And he freaking lives. That blew my goddamn mind. That shouldn't have happened. It was the stupidest thing.
I call bullshit.
That...
That's a dick move, Dina.
It's a dick move. We have to say that every podcast. We have to meet our quota every time.
Yeah. No, but it's the best plot twist ever, though. Like, spoiler alert, Sean Bean doesn't die. And
it's pretty funny.
There are two other things that are really quick mentions. And they live happily ever after and leave Silent Hill. Congratulations, you're leaving. Number one, they get onto a truck.
Oh.
You know, honestly, they should have done it like Homecoming, where you get in and you're like, dude, is that Travis Grady from Origins? But no, he introduces himself as Travis Grady. I was like, jeez. But so yeah, so Heather and Vince, Travis Grady, the truck driver from Silent Hill Origins, the guy you play as in that game, which was like, really? Why would you even? So then they leave. Okay. And then meanwhile, going into Silent Hill, you see a cop car, and I'm like, Sybil? But no, it's not, because she died in the first movie, and also that would make no sense. You see a cop cars, actually. Also a bus, which indicates to me that it's a prison bus, which makes me think of Murphy Pendleton from Silent Hill Downpour, because that's how the game is. You're on a prison bus. You weren't going to Silent Hill. You crash, and you have no choice but to walk there, because that's the nearest town. But yeah, they nodded to Silent Hill Origins and Silent Hill Downpour. And if you want to count that monster from the Insane Asylum, Silent Hill Homecoming. So they basically nodded to all the non-numbered Silent Hill games. I mean, half of the movie was Silent Hill 2 with regard to monsters. Silent Hill 1, well, okay, 3's a direct sequel to 1. Basically, they winked at every Silent Hill game, except for Shattered Memories, which would make no sense, because that was another take on 1. And they did not wink to, as far as I know, they did not wink to Silent Hill 4. So basically almost every Silent Hill game was in one form or another in this movie. And finally, we get a goddamn Silent Hill 3 track playing over the ending credits is the Three Voices remix of Rain of Brass Petals, which I thought was kind of cool. But overall...
Well, they didn't reference Silent Hill 4 because Silent Hill 4 was shit.
Fuck you! That was a dick move.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but I have to point out though that Sean Bean was wearing glasses, so he did sort of resemble Harry from Shattered Memories. So they did technically sort of do a nod to Shattered Memories,
If
I guess.
Shattered Memories, that'd be freaking insane. Like,
And some people have pointed out that the mannequin monster looks a little bit like the Scarlet Boss from Homecoming. I don't know if it really does, but
she's mannequin-ish, I guess, but this was. Scarlet was kind of reddish and had sharp teeth, and this was a spider mannequin with multiple heads. Although that shriek that when it got the new head, maybe you could stretch that a little bit, I guess. Although I will say Scarlet was my favorite boss from Homecoming. But now, just despite all of my like error and this shouldn't be here complaints, honestly, the movie wasn't as bad as I thought it was. If you basically took out the absurdly stupid climax with the Pyramid Head and fight, honestly, I would have felt a lot better about the movie. Like, I was getting ready to be like, okay, I don't like what they did with Harry living, but the movie it felt like Silent Hill, and then it just became like combat. I was like, are you kidding? Jesus Christ. But overall, though, I do not hate the movie. I don't know if I'd really recommend it. But, like, if you liked the first movie, then you'd probably be okay with this one, too.
If you liked the first movie, I don't want to be associated with you. That's just all there is to it.
I'm in this cast, and I kind of like the movie. Except for, look, I'm burning.